Hi, this is Shana Meyerson here to teach you today how to do this, Bhujapidasana. I'm very proud of myself because I actually just had to start my camera with my foot in order to start in this pose so that you don't get a thumbnail of me just sitting there gesturing wildly. Instead, you have a picture of me actually in the pose, hopefully as my thumbnail. I'm coming out of the pose now. Okay, let's talk about how to get into this pose. Okay, the pose is called Bhujapidasana, which means shoulder pressure pose. And I think this is probably the easiest of all arm balances. It has a little bit of a flexibility element to it, so you want to have some pretty open hips for this, but beyond that, it's a pretty no-brainer. So, I'm going to start in a squat. So this is a really nice warm-up. My feet are about hip distance apart. You want to try to get your heels to the floor, okay? Because you want to have really, really nice open hips here. My arms are on the inside. My arms press out to stretch out my knees. My knees hug in at the same time to get a little bit of energy. If this is really easy for you, it's called Malasana. You actually start with your feet all the way together. Make sure your heels stay on the floor though, because otherwise it's not Malasana. And then just take it wider. Because if you want to make it easier, take the feet wider apart. And if you want to make it easier, turn the feet out. Okay, so this is just going to be our first stretch. You're just going to squat in Malasana. If you want to, no matter what your foot position, to take it deeper, you can take your hands around, grab the backs of your heels, and see if you can take your head to the floor, but without lifting the heels, okay? There's always a rub. Here we go. So in order to get down, what I have to do is my arm is pressing into my leg. At the same time, my hand is pulling me in. I'm going to show you from the side view. My arms are on the inside. My tush is low. My heels are on the floor. This is the most important part. If you need crazy glue, get it. Get those heels on the floor. Arms come around the front, so not on top and behind, but in front. I grab my heels and I'm going to push my arms back. At the same time, I'm going to pull my hands in, and I'm just going to try to get my head to the floor, and my hips really low, and my heels on the floor. Okay? That's going to be my stretch. Okay? You can hold this as long as you want to. And a good idea is to actually sort of warm up your poses in general before you come into this or any arm balance. Okay, so in order to get into this pose, it's a very like shouldery, underneath type of a bit. You got to get your shoulders way underneath. So we're going to start with your feet about hips width or even a little bit wider apart. Okay, I'm going to go sideways again. You're going to take the webby part of your hand, okay, this thing right here, and like you're hiking a football, you're going to take your arm through, and you're going to take your webby part of your hand, and you're going to press it into the back of your leg, somewhere around your calf. Now, why am I pressing? Because I'm going to see if I can snuggle my shoulder under my knee. So it's not my triceps, although technically I could do it there too. My shoulder comes under my knee. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this other hand. I hike, take the webby part of my hand, put it near my calf, and snuggle my shoulder under my knee. So, if you look at it from this view, you'll see both of my shoulders are all the way behind my knees. So here's my webby part, hike, hike. You can do this one or two at a time. Press and snuggle. Okay? Now, once you get this, you're going to take your hands and you're going to put them on the floor behind your heels. Okay? This is what most people consider the hardest part of this pose. Snuggle and down. So it's not next to, it's not inside, but right behind it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on my arms. I'm literally just sitting, okay? Now, my arms here are basically chaturanga arms, okay? But it's much, 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 much easier because I'm just in a more or less vertical position, so there's not a lot of weight to be sustained. So all I have to do, once I have that seat on my arms, squish, plop. I'm going to move my feet in. I'm going to creep them in, creep, 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 creep. And I'm going to see if I cross my ankles. Now, if I can cross my ankles, it basically just holds me right in the pose. Because I can't cross my ankles and keep them on the floor at the same time. Now let me explain to you why this dynamic is so important and so sustainable. Like I can sit here all day, but that's a lie. I can't sit here all day, but I can sit here for a really long time. It doesn't feel like much at all because my feet are just holding me up. Watch this. Here's a quick little quiz. I just want you to sit, just sit with your legs like this, okay? And you're gonna put your arms anywhere that feels comfortable, okay? Now I'm gonna play a little psychic game. With your feet like this and your knees like this, I'm gonna guess that your hands did something like this. Am I right? If I'm not right, you're in the vast minority. Most normal people will go like this. So if you didn't do this, you're not normal, okay? Why do we do this? We do this because the holding of the hand or the wrist or whatever, my arms are containing my legs. When I let go of my arms, my legs just sort of get like floppy and like bleh. But when I hold on like this pose can actually be quite comfortable. This might actually be a sitting position that you might choose, watching TV or otherwise. But you're not going to watch TV like this. It's just not comfortable. So, why is this important? My arms holding on to each other are holding my legs in a stable and consistent position. Think of it this way. When I'm coming into Bhujapidasana and my feet come together, can you see the similarities? Because it's my arms that want to flop open this time, and it's my legs that are holding them together. So my legs are basically taking the same form as my arms did when I was sitting, and my arms are taking the place of my legs. And then I could just hang out here, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Bhujapidasana. Let's say that you can't reach the floor. Hold on. If you have your handy-dandy blocks, and you put them behind your heels, you won't have to squat so low. So again, I squish. This time my hands go on my blocks. I sit, and I just move my feet together. I mean, you can see how high I am off the floor. And remember, diagonal lines hit the floor slower than vertical lines. So these diagonal lines ain't hitting the floor. So this makes it, if you've got a little less flexibility, this makes it a lot easier to get into the posture. Okay, if you don't have blocks, here's the thing. See, there's the pose again. Here's the thing, is that Bhujapidasana is like a sitty back pose. Like you're actually sitting on your arms. So it's okay if you need to sort of plop back a little bit on this one. So let's say it's very, very hard for me to get my arms back there, and I'm sort of here. If I sit back into it, I'm in my pose. If I hug my legs, I'm in my pose in a way that I can sustain. Okay? So, once you got this, of course, the very next pose is Tittibhasana. Okay? That one always gets a giggle. Tittibhasana, yeah, it's like titty and then basana. We're going to take our feet, and if we uncross our legs and shoot them out in front, you're in your pose. This is called Firefly Pose. Now, Firefly Pose is less about a split, in fact, it's not about a split, and more about the legs going straight forward. So when you do this one, don't think about your legs going out. Think about them extending forward, like you're taking your heel and you're pulling it from your hip. Check it out. So, I snuggle, hands down, look forward. I'll start in my Bhujapidasana, and you should be able to switch and switch and switch and switch. Then, I take my legs and I shoot them forward, okay? And my legs are sort of pressing into my arms to keep me sustained here. Okay, Firefly. So these are like the easiest, I think, arm balances in all of yoga. I've got like a whole bunch of 5-year-old students who can do this, and therefore you can do it too. So another way to enter Firefly that's pretty cool is you could enter from sitting. So let's say you enter from sitting, you start out just as you would standing. We're gonna get these legs over my shoulders. Right now they're just in my elbows. So I take my webby part, over, okay? My hands are gonna come down. So I call the most attractive pose in all of yoga, right here. And I'm gonna show you this sideways in a second, but all I need to do from here is stretch my legs forward and my tush backwards, and boom. It looks a lot more impressive than it is. Once you try it, you'll be like, okay, that's no big deal at all. Okay, check it out. I'll just start with my elbows. Now I'm gonna take my webby part, I'm gonna throw that leg over my shoulder. Hands can't be in front, by the way. They have to be back. So they're right here by my hips. Okay, so it's very important for leverage. Now, watch how my hips go back. I'm not just gonna press up, because then I'm just gonna fall. My hips go back and my legs go forward at the same time. I look forward, and then it's like I'm just pointing my feet to where I wanna go. Hips back, legs forward. And again, they're not very wide. They're basically just forward. Okay? So overall, these two poses, shoulder pressure pose and Firefly pose, are pretty manageable poses. They're a really great way to set up a foundation for the beginnings of your arm balances, and there's all sorts of fun transitions you can do when you're coming from these two poses. This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, wishing you a fabulous weekend to come.